sorts because we're doing meeting business. So first thing on the agenda is that contract 2012, the Bull Avenue buffer planting contract.
Yes, so we budgeted $25,000 to replace the buffer trees along Bull Avenue. The plan, which was actually designed, and I have to give him a huge shout out because he doesn't have a ton of time and he did this for us, was designed by CJ Henry on our Shade Tree Commission. Calls for the planting of 87 trees and shrubs, and the Shade Tree Commission is working their tails off. We went out and walked the property and met individually with property owners to explain what we were going to do and address any other questions or concerns they had. The bids were opened on Monday, and the low bid, we had 2 bids submitted, one by Scott's Landscaping and one by Green's Landscape, and Green's Landscape submitted the low bid in the amount of $18,750.
You want a motion?
To accept that bid.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
I understand that's going to proceed this year.
Yeah, we're going to get it done by December.
So planting is okay by then?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, now this is good, yeah.
That's typically,
Oh, now it's okay.
that's typically when we do our street trees.
Oh, okay.
There was interest in the markup in trees between the 2 bids.
Yeah, I was interested in that as well.
Better than 100% difference in those bids.
Wow. Okay, any other questions, comments? Well, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving right along to budget requests from the public.
Okay, so
Do we have any public comment?
we do not have any public comment.
Okay.
So members of the public were invited to make their formal budget requests to the board. So in 2020, we funded, and this is what's in your budget this year, 2020, we funded $500 to Fourth Fest. And I'll note we did not pay that money because they did not have traditional Fourth Fest this year. $17.50 to the Boalsburg Village Conservancy for Memorial Day, which was $750, and Hometown Christmas, which was $1,000, and we did pay that money. The Memorial Day money was used to cover the cost of the tent and the sound system for the service. $350 to the Spring Creek Water Monitoring Project, $250 to Leadership Center County, $200 to the CCATO Scholarship Fund, $100 to the Get Outdoors Day event, which they did not request because they didn't have their event. They asked us to save that for next year. $487 to the Spring Creek Watershed Commission. And then we also funded 25% of the Penn State campus weather programming on CNET. So to date, we have received the following requests for 2021. $17.50 to the Boalsburg Village Conservancy for Memorial Day. And again, that's $750 for Memorial Day and $1,000 for Hometown Christmas. $500 for Leadership Center County, 25% of the Penn State campus weather programming on CNET, and $1,000 for the Center County Economic Development Partnership. That's the economic development partnership run by CBICC that pretty much all the rest of the center region plus Spring Township and Bellefonte are in. We were in a couple of years ago, so I don't know if you want to consider that again. But that's what we have. If you want to discuss the request.
How much did we spend this year, Amy? Do you know?
What do you mean?
Well, the money that we said we would spend, how much did we actually spend? They mostly were canceled, weren't they?
We didn't give to Fourth Fest. We didn't give to Get Outdoors Day. I have to double check. I think we gave to Spring Creek Water Monitoring. We gave to the BBC, and we'll cut the check for the scholarship fund. Typically, we would do that in October when you guys go to
Memorial Day. Memorial Day.
We did.
Okay.
Well, the water monitoring project has moved into its own nonprofit corporation. It is no longer affiliated with Clearwater. They're a freestanding budget and renting space in Bellefonte, so I don't think we need to consider them. I'd make a motion just for discussion to get things going.
Okay, what's your motion?
I'll, you said you added the scholarship money, the 200?
We'll pay that, but I can
Okay.
add that in for 2021 if you want.
I would take Leadership Center County to 250. My justification is that if you look at the letter they sent us, they're working with 34 school districts and 69 municipalities. They're doing a lot of non-center county outreach. And I think our money would probably be better spent staying in the county. So I'll give them 250. And I'll take the Center County Economic Development to 500. You need to realize also that the Watershed Commission, after the 2020 census, will use the new Harris Township number at 10 cents per head, which probably won't emerge until 2022,
Right.
looking down the road a year.
Did you want to add in the CCATO scholarship fund,
Yeah,
2021? $200 again?
I would, yeah.
Yes.
And you said not the Spring Creek Water Monitoring Project?
I would take that off.
Okay.
They're a freestanding budget now. They have a fairly decent cash flow.
Well, they didn't send us a request either.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, they typically don't. They typically just send us a bill and then they typically send us a bill for like $1,000 and I have to tell them, no, we've
Yeah.
only approved this much money. So
send it back on no longer at this address.
nobody's home.
So I guess, what are we all covering here? What are we doing? Are we doing the Fourth Fest?
Yeah, so typically Fourth Fest doesn't send us a request until later, but you typically
Yeah, but
always
would
do
you
it.
do me a favor? Would you take Denny's motion and tell us everything that he's saying we're going to do?
Yes, so Denny has said that we should give $1,750 to the Bollesburg Village Conservancy for Memorial Day and Hometown Christmas, $250 for Leadership Center County, 25% of the Penn State campus weather programming on CNET, $500 for the Center County Economic Development Partnership, $200 for the CCATO Scholarship Fund, and he said no to the Spring Creek Water Monitoring Project. Do you want to add, Denny, do you want to add in Fourth Fest the $500?
Well, we had it committed for this year, so it in
Didn't spend
theory
it.
it's in reserve fund somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Is
I'd
that
leave it there.
the CBCC? Is that what was that? They wanted 1,000
they wanted
Yeah.
1,000, yep,
and you recommend 500.
Denny did,
Correct.
yeah.
Does that give us a membership?
No, it doesn't give us a membership, but I will say, I was a little down on the Economic Development Partnership for a while because I wasn't sure they were doing much of anything. If you guys remember back in the winter, we all went over to Mountain View and they had that session on affordable housing and workforce needs in the county. Remember, we sat at that table over there and talked about some of those things. And then they have been a big help with the Helping Happy Valley initiative that we're trying to get up and running to try to, kind of help our business community. So they're actually doing more things. They're actually working on some long-term economic development things.
Well, why did they ask for 1,000? Was there any reasoning behind that?
I think that's just what they ask everybody for.
Oh,
I think
okay.
I think that's their membership level.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's not a membership at CBICC. It's a membership in this economic development partnership. The borough and Ferguson and College all give more because they have industrial development authorities.
Yeah.
Well, if we wanted a membership, but that would be that's not through that. That
No,
isn't how we get it.
that's through CBICC.
Okay, that's the Chamber of Business. Okay, I'm happy then. Okay.
Well, I'd give it a year to prove something, maybe 1,000 next year.
Okay.
That's fine.
And then do you want to put in the $100 for the Get Outdoors Day event?
Well, we buy hot dogs, isn't it?
Well,
No,
Hot dog guy.
no, is that the Trout Unlimited?
Yeah.
Well, you only gave them $100.
Yeah.
And hot
That's
dogs.
all. That's all they ever asked
I
us for.
guess so.
That's
We ate $100 worth of food.
That's all
Oh, you
they
burnt
ever asked us to
$100
do.
worth of food.
Yeah, we normally don't include that in request. It just comes out of a general fund.
They usually come and make the request at a meeting, but we've just started putting it in because you were giving it to them anyway. So,
We get free hot dogs.
I'd leave it in if we want to, sure.
okay.
Okay,
Denny?
so Denny, you've modified your motion, I assume, to incorporate all these?
Correct.
Okay.
I'll second it if we need a second.
Did we?
Okay.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? Well, let's get this done then. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Good. All right, so we'll jump right into the 21-25 capital improvement program.
Okay. So,
Mr. Chair- Oh, go ahead.
oh no, go ahead, Bud. What'd you
Well, I
think?
was just going to make a couple comments on the the blue sheet that Amy sent us, not for discussion, just some comments, which we'll discuss more as we go on into the budget. But one of the things I'm a little confused on is this earned income tax. The numbers don't add up. Well, when you get to that point, I guess Dwight can explain that to me. But the numbers don't seem to add up. We're under $100,000, but that's beside the point. The other issue was on the money from the maintenance building. It's a little early to decide anything to do there. We have about 2.5 years, I guess, to decide on that. We have 3 years to decide what to do with that money until we have to do something with it. And I'm sure that in our building construction, we'll find something we might want to add to our facilities. There's public works down there that, as we go in there, maybe something they want. So we may want to keep that open. And also, I think we could use some of that monies to work on our parking lot. You had 25,000 or something for our parking behind the maintenance, behind the municipal building. So that money can be used to that. So I'm not, at this point, I'm not really happy by just drawing it all out and saying put it in reserve, because we can only use it for capital projects. But we have about 2.5 years to go on that. And we've already paid soft costs, which everybody seems to do. We've paid that, we can afford that. I don't know that we need to refinance ourselves for that. But we have about 2 years to look at that. So right now, my initial comment is I'm not in favor of just pulling that extra money out and putting it in our budget, because as a reserve, whatever we want to use it for, because we only use it in capital projects. So we have 3 years. When did we take that loan out? 6 months ago?
In May.
May. So we have 3 years to decide what, and I'm sure that we're going to do something like down at that facility. There's something we forgot. There's something we want to upgrade down there. So I'd like to keep some of that, be able to borrow some more if we need that. So that's the only comment I have. I guess we'll discuss that more when we get to it. But those are 2 comments I have on the blue sheet. Now I'm ready to go.
Let me toss an idea out that I want you to chew on. If you look at coming into the village from the bank, coming around the curve, we have that at the corner of Loop Road and Main. I think there's some real potential if we take the old the shed down, to look at that property. We have a piece of property on the other side of Tennis Alley and the property on the corner. Those together, I think, would form a really interesting village green concept.
Are you the one, you told this to somebody, because somebody called me and said, I heard you're buying the whole block.
Way to go, Dan. No,
I didn't tell anybody.
That was another, we'll talk about that later. That was somebody else. That was probably me. Someone else asked what we wanted to buy all those houses. We'll talk about that.
Somebody
Later.
called.
We don't want to. Okay, we don't want to buy those houses, right? They're for sale on Main Street.
We don't want to buy houses.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
We're in the middle of a pandemic. We don't want to buy anything.
Well, put it on the burner as something to think of in terms of a village green.
Yeah.
Not into town.
And that's a capital project that we could be using some of that money for.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Move on.
Okay.
How much are parking meters?
We're not getting parking meters. We're getting a parking deck. Can we go back and talk about the capital improvement budget now?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh,
Yes.
Your capital
That's what I was
improvement?
thinking we were headed.
But jumped ahead.
No, I just did not jump ahead. Just those 2 comments on that blue sheet you gave us.
We're 10 minutes into the meeting and we've lost control. Bud jumped ahead.
Yeah. No, it's the first page of the budget.
Well, we're not in the budget. We're in the capital budget.
Okay, let's go.
Improvement is a separate document.
Yes.
Let's go.
Okay. So I will say that this year we had some projects, and they were mainly on the park side, that got delayed because of COVID, because there were, about a month and a half where there was not a whole lot we could do because we were restricted by what the governor, by his orders. So for 2021, we have a lot planned. First of all, we're going to continue giving money to the Shade Tree Commission for hazardous tree removal. They now have about $20,000 with the $8,500 that dedicated to them in the general fund, in addition to what they were getting, which has really been good for them. That gives them about what they need. The Bull Avenue buffering project, we're going to do final grading and seeding in the spring. When we talk to the residents out there, there are still some drainage issues. We've cut some drainage swales in. We're cutting some more in the next couple of weeks down towards Discovery Drive. we told the residents we would see what the water was doing in the spring, since we had an unusually dry summer, and then make any adjustments if we need to, and we'll do final grading and seeding on the rest of the area. That's also an area where the Shade Tree Commission has talked about perhaps in the future we might add some additional plants and trees and kind of expand on the buffering that we started. And we told the residents we had to stay within our budget, but this is not a done thing. We can certainly add to it. We're going to finish the village tree plan that we started with Bill Elmendorf. We were looking at some amendments to our Shade Tree Commission ordinance as well. We'll do that next year. We have $5,000 budgeted for that. On the stormwater side, if you remembered, our MS4 permit was renewed. And in the next permit cycle, Jerry Northridge had talked to you about the fact that we have to start doing some projects to get these credits. So in 2021, we're going to make a $6,000 contribution to the Spring Creek Estates project that was completed in College Township, because that buys us nutrient credits. So that's kind of how that works. We, as part of the MS4 partners, we regionally share these credits. So we're going to share in the credits.
So we are responsible for nutrient credits and part of the MS3 or MS4?
MS4, yes. Mm-hmm.
To nutrient credits go to the sewer authority?
No, these are separate. These are different nutrient
They go
credits.
to us.
They go to us.
I'll volunteer.
Stop. Don't even say it. Just stop.
Okay.
We're also, in 2021, we have $10,000 budgeted to do some curb and gutter work in Willowbrook. We started that this year. That should be completed in the next week or so. There's some additional places that need to have work done. We have $12,000 budgeted for some traffic signal work, and I just want to kind of get to that page and review what we have planned, because traffic signals need some TLC every year. So in 2021, we're going to install a new battery at the Mary Elizabeth Street, Warner Boulevard signal. A generator hookup is going to be installed at the signal at the 322 off-ramp and Route 45. And the LED bulbs will be installed. Somehow they did not get installed the last time. They will be installed at the signal at Bull Avenue and Church Street. And so we have $12,000 in next year, and we carry that through till the end of the capital improvement budget to keep up with our traffic signals. We have $15,000 budgeted for the sidewalk replacement program. We're going to work on a stretch of West Main Street next year. There's still plenty of sidewalk in the village that needs to be addressed, so we're going to work on that. And then I put $5,000 in for what I'm calling the Diamond Refresh. We are hopefully getting the insurance claim settled. We're still waiting for our second quote to come in, and Deb is hounding the contractor to get that. But we want to get the Diamond planter cleaned up. The bases that are around the guys told me it's not the flagpole, it's the signs by the flagpole. But the bases there are kind of falling apart, so we want to get those redone. We would like to change out the plants in the planter. The pollinator planters have not been a big hit with a lot of our residents. We get a lot of complaints about people having sight distance problems from how tall the plants are, so we'll probably look to do something a little different there. And then the guys suggested that maybe we will want to take the water fountain out that's down on the Diamond. It's really just an old repurposed flower pot, and kind of in the land of COVID, we probably don't want to have water fountains anymore. So we have $5,000. Put your mask on, bud. We have $5,000. We have $5,000 budgeted for that out of the special projects fund. The insurance claim will pay for a good chunk of, if not all of, the planter that has to be rebuilt. So that's
What's the guesstimated insurance damage to that thing we're getting?
I have no idea, because I'm still waiting on my second. I had to get 2 quotes, and I'm waiting on my second quote.
You can't give us the first quote, obviously. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. It's been a long time.
Yes, these masons are busy. I get it.
Okay, 2 thoughts. One is on the Diamond Refresh. Why not leave the water fountain in and use it as a planter like we have on the other side?
I mean, I guess we could just take the part, the piping, plumbing parts out of it.
Yeah, I mean, we have a planter on the other side and just maintain some symmetry there. My other question is on the traffic signal work. I recall a few years back, a lot of the signals around the center region were converted to LEDs.
Mm-hmm.
And they got converted back because they didn't generate enough heat to melt the snow off of them in the winter.
I don't know that they were converted back, but we have most of our, if not all of ours, are LEDs, except for whatever reason, Bolin Church is the last one standing. And we do have the problem, and thankfully we have a bucket truck now. But one winter we had to get the fire company to come out to knock the snow off of the red light. I think it was, I can't remember where it was, but yeah, we do have that problem in the winter.
Okay.
Are we responsible?
Go ahead.
Are we responsible for the generator on that thing?
The generator hookup, yep.
We own the generator and have to hook it up?
Yeah, so if the power goes down, so when we had the storm in 2017, when the power goes down, those batteries only last so long. So with the generator hookup, we were able to hook up, and we borrowed generators from other municipalities. We were able to hook up generators to keep the traffic signals running.
Oh, the generators don't keep the batteries charged up. The generator kicks them and the batteries go dead.
Yeah, the generator, when the power goes out, if we don't have we have the battery backup for so long, but like that storm in 2017, we didn't have power for 56 hours. So the batteries died. So we plugged in the generator. State College Police, I believe, brought us a generator and plugged it in to keep the traffic signal moving.
Is that mandatory? Do we have to do that? The reason I'm saying that, we only get a storm like that once every 10 years.
Well, I don't know that it's mandatory, but I think it's good to have, because then if something happens, and we don't have the greatest power around here all the time.
Well, in theory, we could need 5 generators. One per time.
No, it's generator hookups, and most of them have the hookups. And what we did with State College Police during the storm, we prioritized traffic signals, and we set up a different traffic pattern so that the one that, I think it was Mary Elizabeth Street, was the one we ran off the generator because it was the farthest fetched. And it was able to run continuously. So we don't need 5 generators, right?
They bring a generator in and hook up.
We can, yes. We have a generator,
okay.
or we can borrow from our neighbors.
Okay.
I'll loan you mine.
I got a bicycle with a motor on it.
Okay, well, we'll sign you up for that. But one other thing to mention under infrastructure for next year is the municipal building parking lot. I budgeted $25,000 out of the general fund. That was a complete and total guess. I have no idea what we're doing other than the pole shed's going to fall down as soon as all the trucks come out of it. So we're going to get rid of the pole shed. We're going to get rid of the pole shed. I think there was discussion that we wanted to just finish, make sure that's paved, put in parking. We could usually use an ADA parking spot, put that in back there. And then whatever else you want to do. I was thinking we could get some plantings, because I know Diane Farr is very concerned about what it's gonna, and others are very concerned about what it's gonna look like back there. So I put $25,000 in. Bud is correct in that, I'm agreeing with Bud, there's something wrong with me, but Bud is correct. Oh. We can use some of the money from the building that's left over, the maintenance facility project, to work on that out here if we want to do something a little more elaborate.
I'd put it out to bid. Anyone that wants it can take it.
A pole shed's got holes in it.
Pardon?
The pole
whole
shed.
building. Anyone that wants it, as long as they provide liability insurance, can take it and clear it.
I think when the trucks are gone, it'd be no day to the next door. It's going to go next door. A wind will take care of that.
Yeah, it's held together by cables and a wing and a prayer.
Well, Denny's on to something here. Have you seen the price for lately? The lumber prices are through the roof. So,
Here we go.
hey, somebody will buy it for the lumber.
That's right.
Barn lumber.
We still have that lumber upstairs we can sell. The historic lumber. Okay, I was ignorant to lumber costs, so that's something we could do. Okay, and then moving into roads for next year.
One question.
Yes, sir.
There's a slurry seal. Every year you've got 25,000 budgeted for next 3 or 4 years.
Yes.
Is there any benefit in doing more than just 3, maybe 5 a year, 1 year? I would think there's some cost benefits by doing 4 or 5 a year and getting done with. There's a reason we spread them out that many years, or we just only want to spend so much a year.
Well, so we try to look at how much it costs per linear. I think they do it by square yard or square foot. I'm not sure. So for 2021, we're only projecting those 3 streets because we did the other half of those streets in 2020. So we want to get that neighborhood finished.
Okay, so half the neighborhood. Okay.
Yeah, so we want to get that neighborhood finished, and then you'll see in out years Meadowlark Lane is huge, so we can't do that all in 1 year because that would probably cost us, $50,000 to $75,000. So
Wait, we can't do Meadowlark Lane in 1 year?
no, it's too long.
Okay. Well, I don't know what Slurry Seal costs, but it sounds like must be rather expensive, more than just, I don't know.
It's
My
not,
reading, Amy, the higher the number, the worse the condition?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go through the roads for next
Okay.
year. So the overlay, Roslyn Road is another huge road, and that's the one that we're doing in chunks. So we did a
Okay.
chunk of it this year. We got a great price. So next year, we're gonna go from the Boulevard section, which is the part we finished this year, to the intersection with Forbes Field Circle. And we have $46,000 budgeted for that. Rocky Lane has been beat up by construction traffic. We're gonna fix Rocky Lane. It's actually just north of 45. It's up more towards K. It's gonna go 45 up and around to K. We had paved a little bit on K before, so we're gonna match up there. That's $40,000. Carmel Street, we're gonna overlay Carmel Street from Montclair Lane to the match line with Kaywood North. So it's the old section of Carmel Street in Kaywood, and that's $35,000. And then the West Main Street culvert. So we have $80,000 in the budget. Jerry and I think it's going to be more like 65. We actually applied for a grant from the county liquid fuels allocation. We applied for $45,000 with the township matching, we believe, $20,000. We just submitted that application last Friday. The culvert on West Main Street, if you drive down towards Blue Spring, just past Wagner Street before you get to Yoder Preserve, your car will dip, and that's because the box culvert underneath West Main Street has failed to the point that the road is starting to sink. So we've done some stopgap measures, but it's beyond a stopgap measure. At this point, it's a safety hazard. So we're hoping to get that grant from the county. If we don't, we're gonna have to, pay for that all ourselves and get that taken care of.
Amy, on the Rocky Lane, wasn't the construction company bonded for that?
They bonded, I have to check. I know they bonded Montclair. I'm not sure if they bonded.
Well, we
Rock.
should have had them bond for that. If they did, then if they tore it up, their bond should help reimburse
Well,
us for that.
I shouldn't say it was all construction that tore up Rocky Lane. Rocky Lane also was just old, but I will double check on that.
Yeah, I would think. I don't know how that works, but either they posted surety or they're bonded, and I would think all from 322 into the construction site should have been included on that.
I'll double check on that.
All right.
Is there any construction traffic on Indian Hill Road going around
Mm-mm.
and back into Kaywood North?
No, they have a construction route that they bonded.
Okay.
So then on Slurry Seal for next year, as I mentioned to Bud, this year we did Apollo Avenue, the 800 and 900 blocks of Oak Hall and Hemlock and Lawnwood Avenue. And now next year we're going to do Shrine View, which is the other side of the neighborhood, and then the 700 blocks of Oak Hall and Hemlock Street. And that finishes that little section of the hill. So any questions on roads?
The slurry seal is holding up on the things we've done so far?
Yeah,
Are we getting?
Yeah, it really is.
5 to 6 year.
And it's funny, we did it on East Main Street a couple years ago, so we
Yeah.
got to watch firsthand, and that looks great. And then having it done in front of my house this year, I got to watch the curing process, and it really changes how it looks from the time you put it down until about a month later. It looks like a completely different road.
Yeah, we got some initial complaints, but then it turned out okay.
Yeah.
I would monitor that at cost, and if there is some economy and scale, I would think of doing more 1 year than phasing it over 3 or 4 years. And I don't know what it costs. I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Take one of those in the 40, 35, 36, 38 range and
Yeah. And
Pretty good.
typically we look too to see when they're up that high, we look to see what kind of volume of traffic they have. If they have a higher volume of traffic and they're 40, we're going to go ahead and try to pave them because there's a higher volume of traffic out there. Okay, are we ready to move to Parks and Rec?
One thought or suggestion, because we do these ratings every year of our roads.
Mm-hmm.
It would be good to aggregate them not necessarily for us, but for your purposes, into one spreadsheet so we can see the rate at which they're deteriorating.
Okay, that's actually a great comment. We can do that over 5 years because we have the,
Yeah, you know which ones that we're probably pretty good on for a while, or which ones seem to be falling apart quickly, and we want to get on it before it gets too bad.
okay, that's a great comment.
I see that Smithville does a 70. We're looking at Smithville next year?
No, we did work out there. We did, we tarred and chipped it, and we did a stormwater project out there. Smith
Okay.
Road is not paved. It is never going to get much better because it is not paved.
And we're running 18 wheels on it.
Yeah, we just had an Amishman who bonded out there because he's hauling lumber.
He's going to do some logging off of Rosenberg's farm.
Yes, he was a treat. Yes.
Yep.
The Amishman, not Rosenberger. Okay, so Parks and Rec projects. So this is where we had some things that we really wanted to do this year, but they got delayed, and I think maybe that's probably a good thing. But so Harpster Park Phase 2. Phase 2 of Harpster Park includes a very small gazebo that we would like to put in the flat lower area of the park. We think it'll be a nice little seating area. The Harpster family has indicated they'd like to put in a flagpole next to it in Roy's honor, which would be wonderful. Also, and I talked to one of Nigel's neighbors the other day, Mrs. Morgan, about this. There is some brush along the edge that's on the park property that borders Nigel and his neighbors that needs to be cleaned out. So we'll look at doing that next year as well, make sure that that finally gets cleaned out. We had Colin Sutherland, one of the Eagle Scouts, came in and he had cleaned out the lower section of it, but we need to go further back. We also need to get a firm establishment as to where our boundary line is out there. The Liberty Hill residents have been putting in paths, which is great, like their own paths. And I need to establish where those paths are versus where our park property is, and then where the boundary is with the hill side of it, import side of it.
Yeah, well, big problem with that is there's a storm drain right off the back corner of Morgan's property that was dug out for the, I believe, to pipe water past what used to be the Johnson's house, the outside corner of Kimport and Ishler, and we have it piped all the way down to Memorial to join on to go right down to the creek. And when that was dug out, all the fill was just piled off to the side and not removed. And you know, now we have the Groundhog Hotel because it's raised up and it's really ideal for groundhogs to burrow. And so, you know, you either got to get rid of that or furnish it properly for those groundhogs. You know, just that just needs to be graded down flat, because that's the only problem. I don't mind, you know, the brush in one area. It's not, you know, it's just a little natural area. It's not terrible, but it's the raised part that's really gotten obnoxious, and especially because of the groundhogs.
It
So
sounded, from my conversation with Mrs. Morgan, it sounded like the brush bothers them.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know, and I don't know the brush piles that another neighbor has piled up there. I don't know if he kept them on his property or if they're or if they've encroached onto the Harpster Park. But there's some very nice formations of brush that need to go.
Yes, I've seen those. And I mean, I think he's put that, he cleaned out. I mean, that resident cleaned out, I think, some of our land. So I think at the end of the day, we should probably take that brush when we do the rest of it and just haul it all away.
I agree. Well, the other thing is, and the Morgans have actually gone beyond their property line, cleaning a lot of that stuff up. They had to get some trees cut, you know, ash trees. And then when they cleaned that up, they really cleaned up and seeded some grass back there and improved it an awful lot. You know, it was really good for us, even though it's not on their property. They did a nice job getting it cleaned up. But it just needs to go all the way out to the Groundhog Hotel. And then, you know, I say there is a natural area that's not too bad. That's flat, you know, and there's some trees in there, but it could be cleaned out inside, but it would be a shame. Some of the trees are okay, and you wouldn't want to just get rid of trees for no reason.
Okay. And then moving on, Nittany View Park, we have grant funding to complete this. I'm in the process of finishing up the paperwork to get everything approved so we can start spending money. The idea with Nittany View is we're going to redo, there's like nothing left in the playground now because the last sets of things that were left there were wooden and they completely rotted and had to come out in the spring. So the idea is we're going to get that playground replaced, and then we're going to do some upgrades to the pathway and also connect the path over to Anna Street so folks walking from that side can hop on the path off of Anna and then come into the park that way. And I actually just got a call from a Girl Scout troop, a Daisy Scout troop that wants to plant some milkweed in the park. So I'm going to meet with them Sunday afternoon and find a good spot over towards the fence with 322 to plant some milkweed that can grow up as a natural area.
Question about that. So is there an easement between properties to the Anna Street cul-de-sac there?
We own, we have like a little bit of right of way there, like an easement there.
You do have we do have right of way between properties, yeah. Yeah, it'd be nice if that was made obvious, so, because I think people don't feel comfortable just walking on somebody's grass between houses. They don't feel it's actually public property. That would be a good thing to do, yeah.
It's right next to Bill Strubel's property. Bill is on the end of the cul-de-sac, so.
Oh, isn't it between, where does it go through? Does it go directly out straight, with the alignment of Anna Street, or is it off to the left? The Anstead house was right on the end, wasn't it? Bonnie Daly's father lived, I'm not sure if
It's between Anstead's and the next house to their left.
To the left. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So it sort of goes right into so it's to the left of the alignment of the road as you're going up towards the cul-de-sac.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. That should be, it should be marked too. There should be a sign there for Nittany View Park access if there isn't already.
There isn't, but we can do that.
Yeah, because then people, then again, residents would know that it's okay to walk through there.
Okay.
The grant from DCNR for $50,000.
Yep.
Are they cutting us a check for $50,000 or for 30?
No, the grant we got is actually, we got $40,000 for the playground. And then they called us up and said, we're giving you an additional $10,000 for your engineer's time to do bid documents, and you don't have to match that. So we only match off the $40,000.
Oh, good.
So that's a total of $70,000?
It's a total of $50,000 from the state. And then we're putting in, I put 20 in the budget because I remember how these things always go over. But we're putting in, technically we only have to match 10, but I put 20 in just in case.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, like budgeting 50.
Yeah, I see that.
50 is the grant, yes.
What are we going to, but that's all that's in the budget.
No, we have 50.
$50,000 is budgeted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I need to adjust that. It's 70.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
So it should be 70 next to Nittany View Park total.
Yeah, and then I'll put in, I have the grant noted. Yep, I will adjust that. Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay, moving on. The Yoder Amphitheater, Mr. Harden. Hi.
Yeah, I don't know. We're pressing our luck here, but I think I can still get the lumber and the materials.
We would love to get that graded, and then and that's a township thing. The guys are going to do that, and they need to go with Jerry and maybe Don to get that figured out. But we would love to get our amphitheater in this year.
Use leftover lumber from our
Pole shed.
Pole shed.
Pole shed. Yeah, there you go.
No. Three splinters.
I think I can still get. I think I can. There wasn't a lot there. I think we can still get the majority of that donated to us.
I mean, even if we need to get the materials sooner, that's fine. We can. The guys will kill me. We can find a.
You don't want to. You don't want to. That's because I'm good. We're hoping to do e-pay, which is mahogany for the seats.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want that stuff laying around. It'll just get gray and ugly. So.
Well, we're not using the meeting room right now. We could put it in there.
No, we don't want to get that yet.
Okay. And then I'm assuming at this point, Frank, that we'll have to put it together, which is not a big deal.
Yeah, I don't. That was a project they did for their 90th anniversary, which was like what, 4 years ago, 5 years ago,
3 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. And then moving on to Tussey Pond. So this is very interesting. So Tussey Pond, we were just out there, the Parks Committee in September, and we're hoping to go next week to walk the trails out there. So Tussey Pond had a group that put in mountain biking trails, which are very well done. Hawbaker donated a bunch of time and effort that get them put in, and they're really popular. And then there's another group that has Frisbee golf discs, baskets all over the place. And they actually moved one they talked to our Parks Committee, they moved one into a corner of our park. So I was up there a couple weeks ago with a friend of mine doing a boot camp. That park is packed. Like, there are cars coming and going all the time with bikes on the back, and people have their disc golfs. So the Parks and Rec Committee were talking, and one of the things they were talking about, one of the members said to me, you know, maybe we don't need like a playground up here. Maybe we should do like an amphitheater up here instead and try to capitalize on there are just so many people that are here, and maybe they want to sit and, you know, play guitars or do readings or whatever. So we're going to go hike those trails hopefully next Thursday and kind of talk some more about the development of that park. Our plan for next year is we would like to start the trails, which our guys will install. And then I am going to try to find some grant funding because we really want to put in fishing piers. We have a veterans group that fishes out of that pond every year. And we have talked about putting in an ADA accessible fishing pier so that folks in wheelchairs could go up and fish off the pier, and then putting in another pier on the other side. So those are the two things we want to start on next year. And then we also want to start talking about how maybe the development of that park is going to move along and if we want to change anything with it. So I think that is like the crown jewel of our park system up there. It's gorgeous and it's full of people.
We're going to love that pond to death.
That pond is awesome.
Trout Unlimited has that program of fishing with veterans.
Yes. Yep.
I can't think of the guy that's running it, but I know him.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I can find grant funding to help pay for those piers. And then lastly, we have money in for Country Place. Country Place needs new swings. We have the new swings out back. We just need to get them installed. So we'll do that next year. And then
I'm glad to hear that.
yeah. Then
Well, I have my internal neighbor ask me that like every other week.
yes, we have them. We'll get an installer in. We'll get them installed. And then Country Place, as we keep going in future years, becomes a point of discussion because we need to look at that slide and how we want to redo it in terms of what we're doing with Tussey Pond as well. So there's a lot of kind of exciting things going on in our parks in years to come. Does anybody have any questions?
It's about time to do Yoder. I mean, it's been many years since we did the fundraising for Yoder and bought the property and put the trail in. And
that's another very popular area. There's a lot of people that go up there and hike, and people ride their horses up there too.
Well, I think
Ride the horses.
all
Ride the
our
horses.
parks are well. Out back, I know our one out back here is used a lot by a lot of people, and just walking with their kids, and you know, it's well used out here.
It's kind of nice. The side effect of the pandemic is that we had a lot of people going into our parks and getting outside. And we've kind of been on the Parks Committee, we've kind of been noting that. Like, I walk past Harpster with my dog almost every day, and there are always people throwing Frisbees or hanging out in that park, which is wonderful to see.
how close is the connection between the Yoder and the Columbus, the Bowl walking trail? Is there proximity there?
It's across the street. That those trails, which actually we need to go walk, those trails that he put in connect over. He built a little bridge that connects over to Blue Spring Park. So you can walk his trails, which they're not ADA accessible, but you can walk his trails and then cross the bridge into the park.
That's a good Aaron design bridge too.
Mm-hmm.
When did he build that bridge?
He just built it. Just finished it like a month ago, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because last time I was there in the summer, it wasn't there.
Amy, wasn't there some residual funds somewhere for the maintenance or to something about the Yoder Park, get rid of invasive species or something? There was some monies, I thought, set aside by somebody.
So the money that we have for the amphitheater, the 3,700 of that is left over from the fundraising that was done.
Okay.
And then the
okay.
Conservancy was going to give us an additional 1,000.
And there was someone who was going to monitor the invasive species and all that. Has anybody done that? I mean, I don't know if it's important, but
I don't know about that. I don't-
okay, okay.
And good luck with that.
Oh yeah,
There's a
yeah.
ton of them.
There's an invasive species group with Clearwater that if we're talking about it, you know.
They attend the
maybe
meetings.
Something to share with
They
them.
attend the meetings or what?
Pardon?
No.
Okay, do we have any other questions on the capital improvement program? I'm not gonna go through the out years unless you want me to.
Oh, yeah.
I did notice that 2022 is pretty heavy in MS4 work.
Yes,
Yes, 4 projects,
yes. Yeah, and that,
3 projects.
I should mention that stormwater project on Brookside Drive, we are going to this year go down there. There was a significant stormwater issue down there. We're going to spend this year getting some surveying done and trying to figure out exactly what we need to do. And then we'll have a better idea of how much that's going to cost us next year to complete that project.
Well, we've discussed in the past, and I'm not sure if we'd all discussed it, but I know I discussed it with you, Amy, was, you know, the way these stormwater retention areas have been set up and managed through homeowners associations that are going defunct because they can't collect their dues. I would suspect that we're going to have some issues with stormwater retention areas in the future. And we talked about taking as a municipality, just taking them over and levying taxes to maintain them rather than trusting the homeowners associations are going to be able to do it. So that's really something that I think we should look into. And it has affected me personally, I admit, because if it wasn't for Mike Green doing work himself, the one for Myers Estates would have totally failed by now. Well, it did fail and he fixed it.
Right.
But,
So this is
Well,
where.
these. Oh, go ahead, Amy. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is where I'm gonna put in a plug for our special projects tax, which is supposed to sunset at the end of this year, and Bud's gonna roll his eyes. These stormwater projects, right? So our special projects tax, which is 2/10 of a mil, and then we have that 3/10 of a mil for maintenance equipment. That takes money and stress out of the general fund. So we can fund other projects through the general fund. And that's where we're looking at doing some of these stormwater projects as we move on. Ferguson Township is having a devil of a time right now talking about their stormwater tax. Like, poor Dave, they are having and their supervisors, they're having a devil of a time trying to get that through. And I don't know that it's gonna go through. So I understand and I agree, Nigel. And I got from College Township an example of a basin that they took over that was orphaned, that they set up it's very limited how they're doing it and what they're doing. So they're not setting bad precedent for the whole township. So that's something I think we're gonna need to look at. But just want to put a bug in your ear as we're talking about this special projects tax, which is set to sunset at the end of this year. That's a good way to fund these projects, and it's not overstressing then our general fund budget. And we're not in a situation where we're like looking at doing a stormwater fee, because I don't think we're anywhere near needing a stormwater fee at this point.
Don Franson did an inventory of all the basins in the township.
Yes.
How many are there?
We have I think in the 15 to 20 range.
No, that aren't being taken care of.
No,
that are in the township.
Yeah.
There's only the one I know of Nigel's is maybe the only one that's not being taken care of.
That's the one that we know. That's the one that we know that's not being taken care of. I'm not sure about some places like Willowbrook, because their HOA is defunct. But in Willowbrook, a lot of the stuff in Willowbrook got deeded to the township when the development was finished.
Yep.
So I think some of that stuff just belongs to us.
Do we mow the one in Willowbrook? I notice it goes like a swale down through the middle of Willowbrook. We mow that, or what do we do?
I don't believe that we do.
Okay, so, that seems to me something that we got to be careful of. If these homeowner associations are, I don't know if it goes defunct. I guess nobody after 30 years, everybody forgets about it, and there's no money. But then it falls back on the taxpayer. And I'm thinking that's something we need to look at. I don't know that a tax would be a good idea unless there's a lot of it. But there's only that one I know of. It serves to be recommitted to Myers Estate. One seems to be the one we only know about. Are there others? I don't know.
Yeah.
The one by Liberty Hill is a giant detention base.
Well, that's well funded. That's well funded.
Yeah, that's owned by Liberty Hill.
Yeah, it's a big.
I have a question on that. Talking about in lieu of tax. I kind of agree with Bud. Why would we want to tax everybody for the homeowners that didn't do what they were supposed to do? Can we go back as a township if we have to go in and repair one or maintenance one? Is there some way we can build a homeowners association or the individual members that maybe didn't join or aren't? Is there a way for us to go back and make the liability on the homeowners instead of a homeowners association instead of trying to tax everybody in the township for something like that?
So
That's my question.
I need to look at the documents that I got from College Township. Jerry got it for me, and I think that they might have gone back and set up a separate tax just for those homeowners or a separate fee that they're then charging them. It's something we can look at. But with our MS4, we do have stormwater projects we have to do, and if we take over some of those things, I think we could get some more credits out of it, which we have to get a certain number of credits under that program.
There's language in Act 167, which is a stormwater act in Pennsylvania, to deal with that exact thing, Frank.
Okay.
Okay.
You need a motion on the capital improvement thing, Amy, or we just do it by?
So we'll adopt it by resolution at your meeting on November 9th. Do you have any changes that you would like me to make to it besides the one that Bruce caught?
Well, I have one comment. As we look through on the back, we have all the roads listed. That when we had that bond years ago, we pretty much caught up pretty good, but I think we're starting to slip a little bit. We got a lot of down into the 35s and 30s and 35s, and it seems to be growing. I don't know, maybe we want to look in a couple out years of looking at that. I don't know how far we're slipping, but when we first, years ago, we had that bond, we did a ton of road work. We got us way ahead of the curve. We probably were down to, I don't know, 10 that were 30 and above. So it seems to be growing, and maybe you need to take a look at that. I don't know how we do it, but.
So one of the things we might want to consider in future years, and again, a lot is up in the air because of the pandemic. We've had revenue loss from EIT. Our liquid fuels allocation is going to be down because people were not driving during the lockdown. We right now are typically only funding our road projects out of our liquid fuels allocation every year. We're not putting any money from the general fund in. And that was because years ago we couldn't afford it. We frankly didn't have the money. Something we may want to consider depending on, I really think that this pandemic is going to be affecting us for a couple of years, right? Not just 2020. I think it's going to be 21, 22, maybe 23. One of the things we may want to consider in 22 and 23 is, do we need to look at putting general fund money, supplementing our liquid fuels money with general fund money to do some more roads? That's just something we might want to consider if we are concerned that we're getting behind. I feel like we're doing a good job of trying to stay on top of it, but we keep adding more roads and keep adding more responsibilities. So that is something we want to think about.
Consider also that with fewer catabuses using our roads, we don't have those heavy vehicles on them all the time. The Mary Elizabeth Loop and the Willowbrook Loop.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Anyone?
All right. Well, if we're done with that, we can look at, hash out the police budget and talk about our payroll.
Okay.
So
So on the police.
Amy, before we get into this, can we start at page 1? I still like to hash out this earned income. I don't quite understand this. The numbers don't say what you are saying.
Okay, what do you mean?
Where are you, Bud?
On page A1,
Oh, okay.
general revenue,
Behind
earned
the
in, which I don't know what CTA stands for. Is that the Central Tax Agency or whatever that's
Center
called?
tax, yeah.
Okay.
Wait, I'm gonna need you to jump in here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
Dwight's
let me
on.
ask you, before you, let me ask you a question, Amy. Did you send them the analysis that I did, the month by month comparing 2019 with 2020?
No, they saw that over the summer when we talked about it back in July, but they haven't seen
Okay,
it since then.
because
Well-
there is a difference between that, because that analysis that I did compares the tax in the month it's collected by the center tax agency. The township receives the money a month later. So there is a month difference between that analysis I did and what I'm actually projecting as your revenue, because it comes a month later. But go ahead and ask your question then.
Well, I just looked at history on here, and in 2018 we received something like 963,000. 2019 we received 987,000, and you project 2020 to be 988,000. And I guess I'm curious where you got the over $1 million to put into, but why you thought it was going to be over $1 million. And we're not going to, my projection is we're only going to be about 25,000 under that, what we projected, but there's someone, the one we got from A says there's $100,000 difference. So I don't quite, catch me up on this. Maybe I'm not looking at the numbers right, but we seem to be collecting what we've collected for the last 5 or 6 years as far as EIT this
Right.
year.
Yes, but this year you're about 10% down from
Yes,
where
I'll go with 10%. Yes.
Right.
Well, I'll go
So
with 25,000.
So if we would have collected at the trajectory that you were on, you would have hit that $1 million this year. If it weren't for COVID, you would have hit that $1 million.
How did we project that? How did we project that?
It was done based on the history from previous years, and then Amy added on what she thought was.
Well, we've never collected over 90. We've always collected just over 900,000 every year up to this year. And I'm curious why you projected we get over $1 million this year. Did we over budget? We just aren't getting the expectation, or what?
No, we didn't over budget. We put in what we look at the growth, and we try to be very conservative on our revenue side when we're budgeting our revenue.
Yes, that's what I thought. So I was surprised.
We were looking at 2019, we collected $987,000 or whatever that money was,
Yes.
or whatever that number was. We then add a small percentage increase. We don't ever budget that it stays flat. And what we saw this year with the virus is that we're losing 10%, which equates to, Dwight, correct me if I'm wrong, about $100,000 in revenue.
Where does it show up out on the budget? I don't see it. I mean, I see $25,000 under what we budgeted. From 988,000 to $1 million.
Right,
Unless I'm.
No, I'll explain it to you. So
Okay.
what Amy said was, when we budgeted the $1,011,000, we were
Yes.
conservative. We didn't budget what we really thought it was going to be. So we
You thought it was going to
budgeted
be more than that.
No, we
Yeah.
thought it was going to be less. Yeah, we thought it was going to be more than that, but we were
More than $1
conservative
million.
in budgeting. Yep. So what you're seeing is what we're projecting now, the 10% is 10% of where we really thought it was going to be, not what we budgeted.
And that turns out to be 988,000.
Yes. So we would, if had COVID not come, you probably would have exceeded your budget.
Oh, we may have. We did grow a little bit, but where does $100,000 come from that I saw a figure?
I'm not sure what 100,000.
I thought I saw Emmy said we were $100,000 under in that last email
We
you
lost,
sent out.
Dwight, what I said was that we had lost, it's what I had asked you, we had lost about $100,000 in revenue from earned income tax this year.
Right.
From
That's the 10% from where we thought we would be at over $1 million. We thought we'd be well over $1 million.
Okay. So that was you based on nothing. You just because we were growing, you thought we would get over $1 million.
Yes.
Okay, so we're not real. There's really not that, but we're right on what we were every other year. So I'm not excited about that too much, like everybody else seems to be. I think that's normal. I think you projected a little high. We didn't know this was going to hit, and there probably was some less EIT. But now we tend to get in the last quarter of the year. We tend to get more than we get the other quarters because there are a lot of people like myself that don't pay an estimated EIT. I do it all at the end of the year. And so I keep my money until at the end of the year, and then I pay my EIT, which I understand there may be some more people. So we may catch up a little bit.
Well, I think, Bud, what you're seeing there, and what I see is, yeah, we even if we've lost 100,000 there, we've more than made it up in the real estate transfer tax.
Oh, we did a kill on
We
the real
budgeted
estate.
160 and committed 315.
Oh, you did. I was just concerned how all of a sudden we expected $1 million, and are there that many people in Harris Township that have lost their income or their income is reduced? And I don't necessarily think so. I think it's just a little bit of maybe we didn't know this was going to hit and we overestimated more than we should have. I don't know that. I just wanted to bring that up
Well,
because I'm not exactly excited about it as everybody else. I don't see it as a problem.
Well, the numbers are showing that your collections are down, so the people are not employed.
Well,
Basically,
well, the
I'm
same
sorry,
as every other year.
can I cut in here a minute?
Yeah.
So this is the withholding tax you're talking about that you know is coming out of paychecks, correct?
Yes, yes.
So, well, Bud, to answer, you don't know of anybody. I'm down about $10,000 in 2020 because of this pandemic, personally. So, you know, other people are going to be the same thing. I have no part-time work that I used to do that brought in thousands of dollars. I have no overtime that I would have gotten in the spring if I was actually working my regular hours. And so I figure I'm down about 10,000. And I'm sure a lot of other people are in the same type of situation. They may have not lost their jobs, but there just isn't extra income when they expect to get it.
I agree with you, Nigel, and that's not the point. I'm saying I'm not exactly excited about it as service. I don't think that it is a long-term thing, and I think it will change. We look at our budget. I think we got over optimistic in the beginning of 20, and I know we're down. We will be down. There's no doubt about it. But I don't think it's affecting us that much. I mean, you're right about that, Nigel. Yeah.
No, we're not. It's not because we under budgeted, and we did really well in the real estate transfer tax. But so, you know, we still have to be careful. And I think as Amy said, I think this is going to drag on through this, 21 and into 22, quite realistically.
I also think too, and I say this every year, and I admit I say this like almost every year, but the growth is going to slow down. Like, we're running out of places to put houses and people. So we thought the growth was going to slow down this year. Had the growth slowed down this year, we'd be having a much different budget discussion, right? We're lucky because we're on par to more than double what we projected for our real estate transfer tax. But I think as we move forward, one of the things I really want us to consider, want the board to consider doing, is having a fund balance policy and making sure that moving forward, because I think things are going to slow down, moving forward, that we stick to that fund balance policy. We have done a lot of work over the years to get our finances in this shape, and I think we want to keep them there. But to do that, we need to have, good policies in place. And I can send you the analysis that Dwight did that shows you, he's been tracking month by month, comparing 20 numbers with 19 numbers with EIT. I can send you that analysis so you can see how we are behind on our EIT collections.
I can well imagine from my personal experience that other people are in the same situation.
Well, we lost, the month of April, Dwight can correct me if I'm wrong, but the month of April, we lost like 60% of our earned income tax revenue, and that was at the height of the lockdown.
Wow.
I know people that are in Nigel's boat too, that are not doing the overtime and just lost money.
Oh, see, I didn't work all summer. Normally, I'd be out for weeks at a time in the summer with Fullington, but no work there. And also, some school district work in the summer, doing training. Didn't have any of that. And again, from the spring, I would have had a lot of overtime. And fortunately, we got paid, but no overtime. So anyway, and I agree with Amy about the fund balance policy. I thought we've been working on keeping up a good fund balance, and having in past years, we've tried to budget a fund balance of like $200,000.
Yeah, so we have done a good job. You just don't have a formal policy, and I would love to see you have a formal policy that says, I think that what we've seen is anywhere from the recommendation of 5 to 10% of your total budget should be in your fund balance.
Man.
I know, Bud, you're not in favor of fund balance. I know that.
Well, no, oh no,
it's actually
I'm not.
more than that. It's 17% is the GFOA recommendation.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to fund balances. Although I'm opposed to keeping people's money. We need fund balance. You need reserves. You have to have that. But when you start talking 20% of your budget or 17% of your budget, unless it's dedicated for something, that's keeping people's money, and I'm not really in favor of that.
But it's, I mean, it's really
Yeah, but-
not, because we don't have every year, but every single year, we don't have money that really comes in until March. We get a little bit of earned income tax every month, but our main money doesn't start coming in until our taxes go out in March. So we live off of our fund balance. And we, this time of year, we're basically done collecting our county municipal taxes. Like we collected what, 96% of our county municipal taxes at discount this year.
I don't want to berate it, but that's what good planning is.
But we eat our fund balance. That's why we have to have a fund balance.
Yes, that's good planning.
It's not holding money. That's how we live.
I know that, but that's good planning.
Having a fund balance policy was one of the recommendations of our auditor.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we can talk about what the numbers should be, but I think having a policy is a good idea.
Oh, I do too, and it should be a reasonable policy. I'm not against it. In fact, you do need something in case something really hits. I don't disagree with that, but I guess how much that is and what we use it for is up for discussion.
Well, I guess the question is, how do we start it? How do we start the process? Let's, if it's something we should do, we can keep talking about it every year at this time, or we can get it started and get it done.
So I might make a suggestion that this year.
So how do we start? That's something you do anything?
Yeah. So my suggestion would be that this year, as we go through our audit in the winter, why don't we sit down and we can have a session, and we can have Dwight come, and maybe our auditor come and talk to us, and then you guys can set a policy at the beginning of the year, and that'll help us as we move forward into budgeting for 2022. You're showing a fund balance right now for 2021. So
Some history also, perhaps from PSATs or one of the organizations with respect to, unless you know that, is 20% a recommended average, Amy, or is that high, low, or,
I defer to Dwight.
The auditors can tell us that.
Yeah, the Government Finance Officers Association.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
Sorry, the GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers Association, which is a nationwide organization, recommends that you have 2 months of expenditures on hand. And that's 16.67% if you do the math.
Why can't we see you, Dwight?
Because he doesn't want to be seen.
There you go. Now you can see. I'm using a cell phone, so I didn't want to eat up too much bandwidth.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to go on to the police discussion now? Have we talked about this enough?
Sure.
I think so.
Okay. So the police, Chief Gardner was at our last meeting, and he was recommending we keep our hours at 76 per week, and the hourly rate is now $127.51. So that's what we budgeted.
The current 2020 per resident hour cost is $90.53 for 2020. The 2021 projected per resident cost is $93.18.
Can I throw something in there too?
That's at 76 hours. Every time you go up or down an hour, it's a $1.23 difference.
Yeah.
If we went to 77, it would be $1.23 added on to. If we went to 75, it would be $1.23 off of it. So it's $93.18 at 76 hours.
Okay. Just a comment. Back in 2018, we paid $444,000. 2009, $458,000. 20 is $490,000. Now it's $504,000. I don't know what that percentage is, but the coverage has stayed the same, but the price keeps going. When is it going to get to the point where we should take a look at it? I don't know what a town this size is, but every time we get a report, we're safer and safer. We have less and less activities. I know all the accidents are down, roads are down, somewhere along the line, and we're going to take a look at this. That's a heck of a percentage of our budget for a safe community. I was never, and I'll repeat this again, I was never in favor of a lot of patrol times. Calls for services, all that other stuff they do is great. I don't know what the couple projects they're going to do this year, but I don't know if they did it. But it just looks, sooner or later we have to say, whoa. we're up from $70 a person now to $95 a person or something. So I don't know. Those are just my comments. Whatever. I remember when it was 62 and we were happy.
25.5 cents per day, bud.
Yeah.
Well,
Those
Yeah,
figures
Okay.
quoted, those what we budgeted, or was that what we actually spent? Because we offered back.
That's what we spent, I believe. Well, I don't know. That's what we spent. Yes.
Yeah, I can send you, I have a spreadsheet that I did for a resident a couple years ago that shows how much money we've gotten back. I can send you that too, if you want to see
We
that.
get some money back.
We've gotten about $320,000 back.
I mean, I don't mind budgeting the money if we get money, because it just saves us money if we happen to go high. And we get money back if we don't. So it's not, having it in the budget doesn't bother me that much. I do agree that I'm concerned about how they spend their time. And, sitting down at the parking lot, at the military museum or something isn't patrolling.
I would agree with you there, Bruce. I think, I brought it up when the chief was out that, last year we asked for more traffic enforcement and less patrol. And he came back this year with, I think it looked pretty much the same numbers as we had the year before. But I agree with you. I don't think we need a lot of patrol. We need more traffic enforcement and having that availability if we do have a situation that's going to require more police, things like we've had some issues in the past where we've had a major issue or crime in the area that took up a lot of time. So I would sooner that we cut back that patrol and make sure that he understands that that's what we want.
Would it be helpful? So what I do when you guys pass the budget, I send a letter and I always put in the letter to the police what you tell me to say for the hours that you want in terms of how you want things allocated. And I send that to the chief. Do you think it would be helpful if we had the chief come, in January you meet with your ABCs, you could have the chief come to that meeting at the beginning of the meeting and sit down and say, these are our priorities for policing in Harris Township for 2021. This is how we want our time allocated. Are you okay with that?
Leading or is this just you guys? Product.
I think you put that, Amy, I think you put that in the letter you send to the chief. You say, here's what, we're going to do the 76 hours a week, but this is how many hours we want traffic. This is what we want patrol.
Well, see, so I do that, but that's obviously not getting communicated properly or something. So I'm just trying to, because I do give the breakdown. So I'm just thinking, do we want to sit down with them or do you want me to sit down with the chief and Lieutenant Browser?
Put in the letter that says that if these hours are off by a bunch, then we're going to take a discount of 30% on what we pay you.
Do we get
that'll get some attention?
Do we get regular reports on the hours they're putting in?
Yeah, I get reports twice a month. I get them at the half of the month and then the end of the month.
So let's keep an eye on those and see how it's trending, and and we can take a look at those and saying, boy, we wish you'd be putting more time in traffic enforcement and less time driving around the neighborhoods.
Okay. So just, I don't know if you guys have your,
Police budget.
if you have your letter from him, just
Yep.
so I know what you want to see. He has recommended, well, I guess first of all, we should decide on how many hours you're going to do. So
I would recommend cutting hours down to 68, 69, or 70.
Now, I would not recommend that.
And there's a reason why?
Yeah, because the police have been called a lot the last couple of weeks by our residents.
Calls for service. That's what we don't know is how many calls for service they get. In my opinion, that should be what we base our budget on, calls for service. So what they're needed out here. We don't know what they're needed out here. Now, I don't know. There's probably statistics somewhere that says a town of 5,000 people with all residents is what standard police budget should be. I don't know if there is or not. There probably is. But calls for services, I'm curious to see what they actually are needed out here. And they answer every call. I know they do. So I think we need to look at that and see how that rates to our just driving, like Bruce is, just driving around.
Well, and let's take a look at that. If we make a recommendation that we only want X number of hours patrolling, then we can see monthly what's going on and say, hey, guys, say that, put it in the traffic enforcement or hold it in the bank for calls for services. But let's not drive around the neighborhoods. We don't have many neighborhoods where we have a lot of problems. Except
So-
down the street.
How many hours a week do you want to do?
Well,
I'm in favor of 76, but what's
Yeah,
the
76 is a problem.
what's the for patrolling? I don't have
Yeah, I wanted to go with the total numbers first, and then we'll go from his letter, and we can write down how many hours we want, and then I'll make sure that gets all communicated back to him.
Are you asking about patrol hours?
So, okay, so
Total.
Total
Oh,
hours or patrol hours? I'm confused now.
I was asking how many hours per week, starting with that total, so then we could do the breakdown, because on his breakdown in his letter, he had scheduled patrol 20 hours, traffic enforcement 14, complaint response 30, detective and community relations crime prevention 12. So I wanted to work from that total number, because if we change to 76, we got to change those numbers.
this is easy. Just flip them. Flip the patrol and the traffic. Put traffic at 20 and patrol at 14 or more. But absolutely flip them.
But that doesn't answer Amy's question with respect to
70.
the
76 is fine. I'm fine with 76 then.
76.
Yeah.
Okay, Nigel, are you okay with
I
76?
agree with 76, yes.
Okay, so can I have a motion for 76, and then you want 20 hours of traffic enforcement and 14 hours of scheduled patrol a week?
I'll make that.
So move. Second.
Okay. Anything else then on that motion?
I have one more. This is not to do with the motion. It has to do with police, but not motion. Go ahead.
Well, should we vote on that motion, the 76 hours then?
Yeah.
Let's get that out of the way and we can discuss details then. So all in favor of 76 hours a week, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Oh, we're all good? Okay.
Something else I'd like to bring up. He suggested in that letter that we set certain hours. I'm not sure that's a good idea. To say, okay, we're going to be here this hour and that hour. So before it's always been on a random basis. We didn't know when we're going to be here. Didn't know when they're going to set stuff up. Now if I remember there's like so many hours at this day and so many starts at such at 6 o'clock in
Yeah.
the morning, at 7.
And
I don't know if that's such a great idea.
that
but
didn't end up either. That was a window that wasn't necessary that they were going to be here during that entire block of time.
Right.
But but outside that window, they would not be here
No,
Unless they were called.
unless they were called.
unless
They
they're
would-
called.
Right, they would
Right.
do their scheduled patrols from, he says Sunday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 7 a.m. to 1 a.m.
What did he base that on? What, a need to be a patrolman down here, or
I don't know, but I will tell you that just recently we've had some issues in Phasic Park. There was an altercation last weekend in the parking lot and in Willowbrook. And there have been some issues in general in some of our parks after dark. I'd rather see more patrol in the evenings where they can go through some of these places.
I'd like to leave it up to them what's the best
Yeah.
time to be in town, rather than say this hours or that hours. I'm not quite. That's brand new this year, if I understand it.
It was an 18 and 19, but I've got the contracts going.
They had certain hours in there.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I've got 10 years worth of contract.
We can always call them and request that
Oh yeah.
they control,
That's-
like
yeah, that's-
basic information.
That might be good information to know how many calls they service they actually get and when. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me when. How many calls for service they actually get in Harris Township? That'd be interesting.
I can ask them that.
I don't care when it is, but
Wasn't that in our report?
Should be, I don't have the report with me.
I don't know.
I'm trying to look here if I got it. That's right.
Well, I know he's got something in front of my house for something. So there's one ticket they wrote tonight. I don't know who it was or what it was, but it was something.
Okay, I'll double check. If it's not in that report, I'll email the chief and get that information on calls for service for you, bud.
Got it right.
Well, I know that I know I'm a stickler on this, but we are stuck with we have a good contract with them. The downside of that we're paying all their overhead for in town. They have to buy this riot gear and they have to buy all that stuff, which we have to help pay for, which is we agreed to, I guess. Someday we may need it. I don't know, but so the overhead is high, not because of us, and we're have to help pay that overhead.
College Township too.
Yeah.
I bet the College Township contract is a couple million.
I think-
Hey, here you go, guys. Right on that page on the report, it says the number of service calls. Calls for service. It's on the report
Yeah, I
that
have
they
that.
gave us. Yeah.
The number of calls for service. Okay.
Yep. Calls for police services. It's on that report, bud, on the blue paper.
Hold that a little closer.
Hey, that's as close as I can hold it.
No, just keep it there. Oh, never mind.
I mean, College
Amy,
Township.
you know what College Township pays for police, Amy?
I have no idea. Couldn't even guess.
I would bet 2.5 million.
I don't think it's that high.
Well,
One
they
point.
like-
It's 1.6.
1.6.
Wow.
Thank you, Dwight.
I mean, their calls for service are like a good 4 times what ours are in some cases, 3 or 4 times. Like, so, yeah, I mean, it's a much bigger municipality, bigger population, and more things in it that would possibly attract, want patrol, that you'd want to police.
Yep.
Okay.
Bud, you're muted, bud.
They're rowdier than we are over there.
Oh, God. Okay. All right, so we're good on the police budget?
Yep.
Okay. Do we want to do personnel?
Sure.
Okay.
Get it out of the way. Of course, your raise, your merit raise, Amy, is contingent upon your evaluation, which I haven't.
Does that mean I have to start
Well,
talking?
Nigel, Nigel, you have to
Yeah.
take her to lunch to give her the bad news, by the way.
Can't go to lunch now. Everything's closed.
Okay. A little cold.
Well, I guess if you can't go to lunch, no raise.
Yeah.
No lunch, no raise.
Come on now.
You got to pay for that lunch somehow.
Come on.
Are we on the second page of the personnel page? Positions and going down? Is that what we're working on, Amy?
Yeah, the personnel budget. Yep.
Okay, good enough. Thank you.
So we budgeted 3% COLA with the exceptions of Deb, who I emailed you about. I'd like to give her a raise.
I agree. I second that motion.
And Bonnie, who gets we extended Bonnie's probationary period. Bonnie has really come on the last couple of months. I've been very pleased with how she's progressing, but we had extended her probationary period. So she gets her raise for completing her probationary period.
I'd like to comment about Bonnie. She's done very well with the fire company, but she's worked hard in that. We're slowly getting it straightened around, and she's doing a good job. But it's a pain in her butt with the fire company, I can tell you right now, but she's doing a good job.
And she's really, with the school taxes are a mess because we get so much money in and she has to do remittances sometimes twice a week. She's done a very good job with that. So I kept telling her it would get easier, and it has been, so that's good. And then for everybody else, I budgeted a 3% cost of living and then up to 1.5% merit. So their merit is based on their evaluation.
Are we going to discuss future personnel? That could be next year or later this year. What's your thought on that?
So Donnie and I were talking, and we originally had thought about hiring a seasonal temporary helper to come in because Dave's going out November 10th on back surgery. We talked about it, and in the course of talking about it, Donnie said, we can do, because of the way we do our leaves, we put one guy in the one man, and then we send out a crew on the regular trucks to do the vacuum collecting. He's like, so we don't really need an extra guy, a 5th guy for that. And then he said, we talked about snow. And I said, what would happen if we called Scott's Landscaping and contracted with them to do Liberty Hill, because they have done Liberty Hill in the past, and kind of took that off of our shoulders for this winter. And he said, if we didn't have Liberty Hill, that we could handle the rest of the streets. Stop it, bud. So Donnie and I are meeting with Scott Burke tomorrow. Scott's giving us a price of, if it's so many inches of snow, it's this amount. If it's this many inches of snow, it's that amount. And then he's also going to give us where the township will still salt. He'll just take care of snow removal. So you guys will see that next week and can discuss it. Long term, I think we're going to be hiring a new person, eventually. It could come sooner, it could come later. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with our personnel out back. I do know, I found out today that I guess Bellefonte Borough is furloughing employees, and because someone called one of our employees and said, hey, I heard you might need a temporary person. So we could get somebody, it seems like, if we needed somebody, but we just thought because the difficulty, and we have formed in the center region a regional HR group of all the managers and HR professionals, which is really helpful because with the health insurance law, if you have somebody working more than 30 hours a week, you have to give them health insurance for a period of a year, and there's a look back period. And the borough and Ferguson both offered me some information, which was helpful. So we could get around it, but it is harder hiring a part-time person out back for winter because the last couple of winters, we didn't really have winter until April. So we don't know what the workload is like because it's so dependent on snow.
Which one of the people listed there, Amy, is Dave on your personnel, the 5 people?
Wait a minute. I gotta look on my 2020 budget. I have it written down.
Does Dwight know that, or?
Dwight got off the, oh wait, hold on, Dwight got bumped off. No, hold on one second, Denny, I can.
I was sort of wondering. I assume Donnie's on top of the 90,000.
Donnie's the maintenance superintendent.
Okay.
Dave's a laborer. Hold on a second.
And the rest are pretty close.
Yeah,
I can't, what page is that? I lost that. I saw it earlier.
It's the second page. Second white page.
Second white page right at the beginning.
Yep.
Yeah.
I thought I saw that.
it's not numbered. Dave is 22.
Oh, here we go, yeah.
2280, no. Yeah, 2284 is Dave's rate.
So his total is a 52,000 number?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not that
So-
that makes a difference, so.
Yeah, so you'll see the contract proposal from Scott for next week for our discussion on the maintenance budget. But we thought that might be an easier way to go with rather than hiring a temporary person.
Scott's also doing the clearing on the bike path?
Yes.
Up through Roy too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has that worked pretty well?
Yeah. So College Township. So when Amy Kerner took over in College Township, I had to tell her. I was like, so it's always your call, College Township, if this is getting done. So she makes the call, and then they go out and clear. We only used them, I think, once last year. Yeah.
Who does the sidewalk on Warner Boulevard?
Scott's.
Scott does that too? Okay, thank you.
Isn't that, doesn't the medical center and the office center take care of their own sidewalk?
We
I thought
take care of the bike path on Warner, not
I
their
thought they
side.
took care of the bike path also.
No,
Well, I don't know that. I thought they did. They did it one time. They used to.
no, I'm pretty sure Scott's is doing that.
Yeah, and the bike path is the bike path. It's not a sidewalk.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the Scott's idea. Normally I'm not big on outsourcing, but to get us through a time like this, I think it makes sense.
Are you good with the COLA and the merits?
Looks good. I mean, I
Yeah.
think as a board, we've always been supportive of taking good care of our employees, and this budget does that. And
Are we going to move, at the end, we're going to move to make a motion for this budget, the whole budget through, right, all at one time? Is that our deal? Is that our goal tonight? So we don't have to
No.
do individual, okay.
No,
this-
next,
yeah.
yeah, and next week, you'll talk about the COG budget and the maintenance budget, which is the rest of the budget. And then at your meeting on November 9th, you'll tentatively adopt it, and it goes out for 20 days of public inspection, and we'll put it on our website. And then you'll finally adopt it at your meeting in December.
I'd like to thank my colleagues on the feedback I got on the value of our employees. I think it's a good program, good guys, good people.
Yeah. Well,
I have one question.
Yes.
And since I'm the rookie, I'm the last elected. I know that, and I don't want to bring it sound goofy, but our rate is done by law, and it's done by the census. Since 2020 is a census, and we're probably going to go over 5,000, is that something we should be looking at in our budget? Because, and I know it's not going to go up a ton, but it is more. It would be more money going into that. Is that something we need to look at, or is that something that's not going to happen for a couple of years? I don't know the answer. I'm just asking.
It takes a little bit of time. Usually with the census, there's a lag until it's done. It's usually like, a year until it's
So
done.
we don't have to worry about it next year. It'd probably be the year after is what you're saying?
Yeah, it probably would be, because you guys you'll go to $2,500 of,
also said it's not a lot, but
Yeah.
it's still.
$600 a year, Frank.
What's that?
$600 more a
I'm
year.
just saying, bud, for the budget purposes, I don't want to miss it.
Well,
that's a good question for PSATs, and let me ask PSATs that question tomorrow.
Look, if they feel that we
You mean PML?
Well,
number
either one, but PSATs has a discussion group. I can just pop an email and somebody will know.
The number I used on per resident police cost was 5408. It came from a community quality of life survey back about 9 or 10 years ago. Originally it was 4878, then it jumped into the 54 range. So we're probably at that 56 now.
The last community survey they did, American Community Survey, we're up closer to 6.
Yeah. So I'm about
6.
about 7 years. I'm about 7 years late on these numbers.
We're gonna have 6 traffic lights. We might as well have 1,000 people for each traffic light, right?
Is there a rule for that?
I don't know. Just saying things.
I'll bet if you call the hospital, there's at least one more added to Harris Township this year, this week.
What?
One more baby being born.
Oh, that's not what I thought you meant. Okay. All right. Anything else on personnel? Bruce, you look like you want to say something.
No, I'm good.
Okay. So why don't you just do a motion on the cost of living and the merit, so we have that, just since it's and the thing for Deb.
That's what I asked, but I will do that. I thought we were going to do it all one time. Okay, I move that we approve our personnel employee cost budget, whatever you want to call it.
I'll second that.
Okay, any more discussion on that? Well, then all in favor, say aye.
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 Are any opposed? Okay. Now, through all the pile of papers I've been rooting through, I've lost my agenda, but I think that was the last item we are going to be talking about this evening.
It is. You guys
Am I right?
record time. I thought this would be a much longer meeting.
Well,
Number 6, adjournment.
an hour and a half. So, okay. Well,
Wait, are we not to make any comments on the COG budget? We're saving that until
Next week.
next week.
Yes. Next budget meeting.
Yeah, Eric and/or Joe will be on next week.
And that, okay.
I have one COG-related question just quickly before you adjourn, and that is, for some reason, the discussion yesterday on our manager's call was, oh, we have to put the regional park item back on everybody's agendas, and we all kind of said, what? So do you want to talk about regional parks again at your meeting in November, or would you like to wait until they actually have numbers back?
What would we discuss? What would we asked to discuss?
I have no
I
idea.
think we're pretty clear in our opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
The pushback we got from Pam was the dollar amount per amenity. She pushed it back on the executive committee because she didn't want to talk about it. And it came up at COG General Forum.
Yeah.
And interestingly, the support for Hess Field
Yeah.
at the General Forum emerged a couple times. College Township, the borough, and Ferguson all mentioned it.
well, I mean, some new elected officials had no idea about what's going on in Hessfield, and
Yeah.
the fact that the rec authorities just seem to have put that on the back burner and not done anything about it. And
Well,
I think,
yeah. I think they think we're into, they were not around for phase 1. They think phase 1 is all done. Well, it really isn't really, but we ran out of money. So we're in phase 2, so, which is Whitehall Road. Now the next phase, I think, whenever that's going to be, but we may not want to wait that long for the Hessfield improvement. I don't know that.
it seems to me that once we get some, bid figures back, we can have a discussion about where, the possibilities. I'm not, averse to College Township's proposal to stretch out the term of the loan to come up with some more money to take care of some things. But obviously, I think we need to hold fast on restroom concession area at Hess Field as well. If we're putting more money into this Whitehall Road Regional Park, we want we want Hessfield done.
Okay. I will dig out the original study that was done with our parks. And at that time, that Pachek out of Pittsburgh did it. And he did, I don't know where he did a study, but that time we were way to go, Dan. All right. At that time, we were way behind on fields, organized fields. Now, this last report, as Bruce would know, they look more like they wanted more passive things, but that doesn't resolve the fact we're still way behind on our organized fields. So we're somewhere, for instance, baseball fields. There's only one baseball field in the whole center region. And in phase 2 or phase 3, Whitehall Road would have another baseball field. So the original study got, like you said, we've had elections, everybody's gone forward. We forgot about that. Then you and I probably wanted to have that anymore. And we need to bring that back out and refresh ourselves on it. The trend now, of course, is, people are getting older and they like more passive. They like hiking paths, like open space and that type of thing. And my concern there, not concern, but my answer to that is we got open space like you wouldn't believe. And we may be underutilizing it. Like Harris Township, 80% of Harris Township is open space as far as I'm concerned. And we've got lots of opportunities. So that's something we need to talk about.
Interesting. Page 63 of the study reads, install septic field using sand mound with sewer piping. Total cost, $35,000.
Hessfield, yeah. That's what it cost back then. Yes.
Yeah, they've done none of that.
Well, we need to continue pushing Hessfields. Both, we were promised that. 2 is that the recent study we did, the consultant identified Hessfield and the Parklet and State College as the 2 parks that had the greatest potential for improvement. And 3, they got a hell of a deal with Hessfields.
Yeah.
And it produces income. A lot of income.
And there's a lot of interest in sponsoring things at Hessfield, which the Parks Rec is when they're all tied up with everything else. There was a lot of interest in people wanting to sponsor. I guess at one point they had, like, according to one of the guys, the managers that with one of the baseball leagues, they would get hotels and banks. Can we sponsor this? Can we sponsor that? And at that time, Parks and Rec was not really into having individual commercial sponsorships. They didn't want Joe's Bar and Grill to have a big sign out there. Well, but there's still potential.
Maybe they'd sponsor the septic field.
Yes.
We'll give them credit for sponsoring.
That's okay.
Brought to you by Scott Toilet Paper.
Okay. On that note.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was about to do it myself if nobody else came in. So,
We'll meet
all in
next
favor of adjourning, just log off here.
What's our meeting next week, Amy?
Next meeting, Wednesday, 6 o'clock, we'll talk about the COG and we'll talk about the maintenance budget, and we should be done then with our budget discussions.
Anything you need to ship to us? Does update on anything?
I will update the numbers in the capital improvement budget and
Cool.
send that to you. Yep.
Hey, before we go, I appreciate you all moving the time to 6 o'clock. It made my day work a lot better.
Bye, Dwight.
Take care, guys. See you
All
next week.
right.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Night
Thank
all.
you.